beautiful lovelies, it's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back to yet another recipe test. Today I'm going to be testing a recipe that looks so delectably simple and easy, and it looks delicious, but is it really? That's what I want to know today. I'm going to be making this recipe that's been going around. It's called the tortilla bake or the quiche bake or tortilla quiche bake, and it's essentially a tortilla wrapper that you wrap a burrito in that contains eggs and all kinds of other ingredients, and then you bake it in your oven and you get a kind of quiche like egg dish. So I think there's a few reasons why this recipe is appealing. Number one, it's made to look simple. You dump everything in, you mix it all in, and then you cook it. Number two, it's full of protein. I guess a lot of people are looking for protein-packed recipes that are simple and look delicious. And number three, it looks delicious. It has a very pretty presentation. But what I want to know is, does it taste good? So cooking eggs in a tortilla is nothing new, but I saw it first on TikToks by Adam Hode's coaching, and then Dia Easewell also tested it as well. But I'm here to test it, and I want to test a couple variations in one dish because I want to know the difference. Like, what happens if we change the flavors? Does it improve it? Does it not? And is it ultimately tasty? Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and find out. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we get started, one more thing to clarify. A tortilla here in the US is a thin wrapper, often made of flour or corn, that's used to make a burrito or a taco or a quesadilla. But in Spain, a tortilla is different. Tortilla de patata is an egg dish. It's kind of like an omelet that's made with lots of potatoes. So I think that's a little bit of background about the name of this dish. The tortilla is, yes, the wrapper, but a tortilla is also an egg kind of omelet as well. Alrighty, now let's go ahead and get started. So, speaking of tortillas, I've got some flour ones here. You could use corn if you like. You can also use any size. I'm using a larger size because I want to accommodate this size pan. But again, customize and use whatever you have. If you want to make a single serving, a small tortilla would be perfect. I'm going to make a few different flavor variations, but the gist of this, the basic idea, is eggs and cheese from this recipe. So I've got 3 eggs here for my chickens, give thanks, and a couple of different cheeses that I had in my refrigerator. And I'm going to chop up some vegetables that I had in my refrigerator. So I've already got some mushroom here, just a mushroom, not even one mushroom, like a half a mushroom, sliced thinly. I'm going to chop a small tomato, because the one that Adam makes is tomato, cheese, and spinach. But again, I am a huge advocate of making it your own. If you don't like tomatoes, then of course don't use tomatoes. Use vegetables and things that you have and that you like. That's the most important. I love the combination of peppers, onions, and mushroom, so I'm going to make that flavor as well. So I've got some red bell pepper here. That's plenty, more than enough. Mushroom and some green onions, beautiful. So that will be one flavor, and mushroom. And the other one will be tomato and cheese. And then another one I'm gonna do is like a breakfast one with a little bit of Canadian bacon and cheese. We're just gonna try that. So I'm gonna add a little bit of cooking spray to the bottom of my pan. You can use a pan, you can use a pie dish, you could use a cast iron skillet. Whatever can go into the oven, you can use. And this is just to keep the walls of the tortilla up so the egg doesn't run out. So we've got a very large tortilla. You can put it in there, smoosh it down. If you want the walls to be higher and it to look like petals, then go for a smaller diameter pan. It'll be a little bit thicker, so I'm going to flute it a little bit to make it look a little bit like a flower. It's kind of pretty, isn't it? Look. Next, we're going to take an egg, crack it into our tortilla. These are huge eggs. They're monstrous, so I think I'm going to just do 2 for the size of my tortilla. And then we take a scoop of cottage cheese right into there, added protein. That's probably about 2 tablespoons. And then plenty of salt, but we're going to be adding cheese, so that'll make it even saltier. And then cracked pepper, which I love. So I think This is also part of the appeal of this recipe, is the visual aspect of dumping everything into the tortilla like this and then mixing it. I think that's part of the visual appeal. I'm going to go ahead and mix my egg and cheese up first. Now you have to be a little bit careful when you're mixing this because you don't want to pierce the tortilla skin, otherwise your egg will leak out. So in all practicality, it'd probably be better to do this in a bowl. Now I've got some leftover mozzarella cheese from a previous recipe, so I'm just going to sprinkle that in. This is going to make it saltier, cheesier. I'm going to pull the sides of this up a little bit here. Okay, and now we're going to add our different flavors. So in this third, I'm going to add my mushrooms and red pepper and green onions. It's like a Celeste pizza, Abbondanza. Okay, and then on this third, I'm going to add my ham. And then over here, I'm going to do tomato. If you've got spinach or kale, that would be nice. Okay, and then green onions on that too, why not? Then over top of that, I'm going to add some shredded Parmesan cheese. You can add Monterey Jack, you could add cheddar, you could do feta, whatever cheese you have, but most importantly, whatever cheese you like. Okay, now into a preheated 350-degree oven. Cook for 15 to 25 minutes, depending on how big your tortilla is and how thick the egg mixture is. I'm guessing mine's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes. Not so big. Alrighty, lovelies. I will see you when this is all golden and cooked. The way to know when it's cooked is you open the oven, give it a jiggle, and it shouldn't be too wet and jiggly. It should be kind of set. And then we can eat this. Alrighty, lovelies. I'll see you in a little bit. Alrighty, my lovelies, I just took the tortilla out of the oven and it looks great. Look how stinking cute it is. And it smells phenomenal. It smells like pizza, at least to me. That combination of peppers, onions, and mushroom, pizza, 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 pizza. Okay, so now we're gonna try to slide it out. So one thing that wasn't so great about using a pan with such high walls, it's a little bit tricky to get out. Ooh, see that? Hear that? But looks great. Okay, quickly slide it out. I love the little ruffly edges. I don't know if the bottom got crispy, but the sides definitely did. Look at that. Doesn't that look great? So let's gild the lily and add a little bit of chopped chives on top. Look at that. Beautiful. I'm going to add the rest of my chives just because I have them. Don't want them to go to waste. And let's give it a cut. Ooh, that sounds promising. The edges are crispy, but the bottom is not so crispy. I think you could also make this in a skillet, I imagine, on the stove, and I bet that would yield a crispy bottom, but then you wouldn't get a crispy, edgy top, you know? Unless you put the whole pan, if your pan is heat safe, under the broiler for a couple minutes, which is what I actually did. This was set at about 13, 14 minutes, and then I ran under the broiler for just 1 minute to get the edges of this crispy. There we have it. Cute, right? So let's taste the, okay, here is the tomato green onion. Beautiful. Alrighty, here we go. This is my very first taste of a tortilla quiche bake. Itadakimasu. That's great. In terms of flavor, it's similar to scrambled eggs. The texture is a little bit different. It's a little bit more wet in a good sense. You know how scrambled eggs can be a little bit dry? This is nice and tender and moist and really great with the tomatoes. And what I like is that the eggs are very well cooked. They're moist and fluffy, not at all dry, and the tomatoes lend a nice fresh flavor to it. As do the green onions and the chives on top. So the tortilla did not crisp up for me on the bottom, but the sides did, that little bit of edge that I left, which lends to really nice textural contrast. Listen. A very thin crispness, which is nice. It's not like a pizza. It's almost more like a cracker. A very thin, crackery crust, which is really nice. And it goes great with the egg. Now let's try this one, which is the Canadian bacon, which is essentially ham, cheese, and a little bit of chive on top. Here we go. Look at the egg, so nicely cooked. It's cheesy without being overly cheesy, very well seasoned, not too salty. And the Canadian bacon or ham in there is really lovely, smoky, a little bit more salt. This one really reminds me of breakfast. I think if I were to make this again, I would try taking my pan and putting it on the stove to get the bottom of it crispy, because then you'd have a crispy edge and crispy bottom. It'd be more of a crackery pizza experience, which I really like that texture in contrast with the kind of tender egg that's going on in the middle. I think that would be excellent. Next, let's try the last flavor combination, which is like the pizza supreme. So we've got red peppers, onion, and mushroom. Here we go. Okay. Really good, and it really does taste like a supreme pizza if you're into that combination, like a Celeste supreme pizza. Really good, or like a Philly cheese steak without the steak. That pepper and onion mushroom combination, classic. Really good. And this is great. I would definitely make this again as a brunch, lunch, snack, dinner, anytime. It's delicious, quick, and easy. This is enough for 2 servings for me. So if I were to make this again for myself, I'd probably use a smaller tortilla and a smaller pan and just 1 egg and some toppings. I think a key thing to think about when making this is not to put too many toppings in there. I think that kind of messes with the ratio of egg to toppings. And then if your toppings don't get cooked, then you've got a kind of a strange situation and uncooked vegetables with all these other things in terms of the eggs. I think the number one thing is you don't want your eggs to be overcooked or undercooked. You know, you want those to be cooked properly. And so err on the side of fewer toppings. It takes a lot less than you may think to season one of these little omelets or tortillas. My chickens are having a field day. Wonder what's going on. All right, my lovelies, there you have it. My thoughts on the tortilla quiche bake. I found it absolutely delicious. And like always, make the recipe your own and add the ingredients that you like. And you'll probably like it. Well, you have to like eggs, though. If you don't like eggs, then you won't like this. Which flavor is my favorite? I think it would probably depend on my mood on the day. But today, I think it would be the supreme style pizza.